Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroladaOfficial. And today my guest is the astrologer Marina. Hello, Marina.
Hi, Lada. So nice to see you.
So nice to see you as well. And we have a beautiful topic to talk about. Venus retrograde in Leo for 4 months. No, not 4 months retrograde, but it will stay in Leo for 4 months from this summer 2020. From now already, it's there.
Yes, exactly. It's pretty interesting. So yes, I have prepared some very useful information that everyone can use so that they know what this energy will be about, what are the things we should be mindful of, or things that it would be nice to work on so that you can really get the benefits. So yes, I think that this particular phase of Venus will be even more interesting than usual because we have lots of focuses on the Venus topics. And yeah, that's what we will talk about today.
I remember when Venus was retrograde in Leo 8 years ago. And was it 8, 9, something like that?
Yes.
And it was a very good time. I had, for me personally, it was so good. It was fun. I reconnected with friends from the past, and it was very warm. But let's see. I'm not sure what the aspects are this year. I haven't looked at them.
Oh, yes, I have prepared like which are the most important ones. So we will discuss them and yeah, we will see like which are also the signs that will be affected the most.
Perfect. And by the way, Marina is doing a webinar specifically for Venus retrograde, where she will look at how Venus retrograde in Leo will affect each of the 12 signs, each planet in aspect, and so on. She'll go very much in depth. And she offers with it also 2 other courses that she'll give you for free on Lilith, because Venus will be retrograde with Lilith. So you'll receive actually 3 courses instead of one, and it's only $49. And she also gives options where you can get this course. It's going to be live on July the 7th, or you can watch the recording, or you can also get the course plus a personal reading with Marina on those topics of Venus, love, money, plus not just a reading astrological, but GCR session, which is actually removing the astrological part, is where you see where the issues come from, and the GCR part is where there is a special techniques how to remove those, and you don't do anything. She does all the work. How to remove those blockages. It's an energetic work that she'll do with you. She did it for me last summer because of my extreme claustrophobia and fear of being in small spaces like planes, and I've been flying since. Just one session, I did nothing. I was just watching her. I've been flying with no problems, absolutely no fear. I don't know what this juju is, actually the GCR thing, but it worked on me.
Just let me correct you. It's GSR. It's
GSR.
GSR. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm going to have another session with her on Wednesday for something else. So I'm really excited. Anyway, back to Venus.
Yeah. So about Venus, the dates, first, the technical stuff, like Venus will turn retrograde on July the 23rd and will stay retrograde for 40 days until September the 3rd. During the whole time, Venus will be retrograde in Leo. So, of course, people who have their sun, rising sign, or their natal Venus in Leo will feel this even more, and it will affect them in a stronger way. But Venus is also going to make some very interesting aspects. But before we get to that, well, for me, one of the main focuses here is that currently Venus is ruling both Jupiter and Uranus, which are in Taurus. And for me, this will affect a lot also everything that is ruled by the Taurus area. So, of course, that's money, that's our financial stability, our material resources. And Venus will make square also with those 2 planets. So yes, first of all, people who have strong Taurus energy, sun, rising sign, maybe even their Venus. Also, yeah, if your Venus is generally in a strong position in your chart, everything that happens with the transiting Venus affects you more. So also if you have, as I said, your planets or your ascendant in Taurus or even in Libra, this transit will be more important, will play a major role for those people. But especially when it comes to money, I think that this will be like the main topic.
Money,
One of the things,
resources.
yeah.
Yeah, because Taurus is so strongly affected. Yeah.
Yes, because right now we have Jupiter also there. So this is an area that we want to grow in, we want to expand in, we are, we want to develop. And frankly, this is always important. Like money is always an important theme. So that's always kind of relevant. But now with Jupiter being there and Uranus for a couple of years already, I think that on a collective level, we have a lot of energy coming from this, and there's definitely an impulse for some kind of changes. They are, of course, happening also on a social collective level, but in our personal charts, we can also feel this. So I think that it's time for some kind of changes when it comes to our income or how much we value our work and our efforts, our time, like, especially when it comes to value. Like, I think that this will also be like so important. And it's time for some changes. Yeah, it's definitely time for some changes.
Raise the prices of everything. Okay.
Yes, why not? Why not? But here, what is the key? Because Venus will be in Leo during the whole time. So one of the other focuses is our own self-worth. So how much or how we evaluate ourselves in general, especially for women. For women, this may also sound like how much I value myself as a woman. But for men, it could be like generally as a person, as a man. And if you want to increase your income, if you want, in whatever way, like higher salary, higher prices for your services, a new business, whatever, the way to approach this is through your own self-worth. Because generally, like, those are closely connected and linked. If you want to earn money, more money, that's always relevant to how much you value and appreciate yourself. Because we know this, like, it makes sense that if you don't have a really high opinion of yourself, it's very difficult to sell yourself also and for others to see the value. So one of the main problems why people might be financially frustrated is when they don't feel confident, when they don't recognize their own self-worth, when they are devaluing themselves, that they don't see their uniqueness and all of that. And of course, like, one of the ways to kind of like check for yourself, check your income. Like, are you fulfilled with your income? And do you think that it matches adequately what you are capable of? And if you are frustrated, unfulfilled, or even if you feel kind of okay, but you still want to grow, the way to approach this is by working on your self-worth and confidence. Like finding more things that you are good at, that you can do in a unique way or in a special way. And those could be small things. One of the things which I'm noticing with working with so many people is that very often we don't see the value of our resources. You know this, for example, when we have trines, sometimes even with the sextiles, but overall harmonious aspects in the chart. In some cases, because it comes natural to us, and we kind of consider it as like, well, isn't this something that everyone can do? Or like, well, I'm not really working hard for this. It kind of happens on its own. Yeah. In those cases, we don't see the value of our potential, our resources. And that's why we say that sometimes people miss the opportunities of their own trines or, harmonious positions or configurations, because there is something in our mentality, or at least it's very popular and common, that we value more the things that we work hard for, that there is, lots of effort, blood and tears. And that's when you see, oh, I really deserve this. But usually that's more an indication that you are doing something on frustration, when it feels like a struggle and a fight and a battle. If you are doing something on a flow, when it means like you have the resources, actually it happens in a more natural way. Yes, objectively, there could be still things, you need to overcome, and it's not always like you don't do anything, of course, but you don't feel exhausted, you don't feel drained. And sometimes in those cases, we take this as a sign that it's not that worth it. If I didn't drain myself doing this, then, well, everybody can do it. And that's not the case. So while Venus is retrograde in Leo, we can reconsider all of that. Our own worth, our own confidence, how much love we have for ourselves. As cliche as this may sound, but self-love is really essential. And when Venus is retrograde, it means that the energy is more on an inner level. So instead of demonstrating, because we know Venus in Leo can be very, in the demonstration, in shocking, well, kind of shocking, at least attracting attention, let's say. Needing and searching for the attention from the outside, validation, recognition, admiration, all of that is so typical for Venus in Leo. But when Venus is retrograde, all of that should come from the inside. So we shouldn't search for this external validation or people to admire us, or even if we want this, first we need to give it to ourselves, to find something, to proud of, to admire yourself, or to allow yourself to experience more joy on an inner level. That's also like
reconnecting with the inner child, the joy one, the playful one.
Yes.
And
yes.
applauding yourself. I'll be smiling a lot during that retrograde. When my husband asks me what's happening, I'll say, I'm applauding myself internally.
Yeah, in your case, Venus will be in 7th house, right? Around your moon. So yeah, exactly. It'll be a great time. Yeah. Some other topics, of course, the feminine energy. Venus is one of the main feminine planets, feminine archetypes. So, of course, this topic will be triggered. And in this case, what I find most interesting is that Venus will make conjunction with Lilith, the black moon. And that's why actually I decided that it would make sense and it would help people if I offer the combination with my Lilith webinar. So people who join our live webinar on Venus will also get access to the 2-part webinars on Lilith, so that you can understand more what is this energy about, how it can affect you. And honestly, that's especially valuable for women, because Lilith is another feminine archetype, but this is the rejected woman. This is the woman that has been thrown away. In the webinar, actually, I'm exploring, it's very interesting, like the story, the myth about Lilith. Actually, Lilith is the first woman. And she has been rejected and thrown away from the garden because she didn't want to stay lower than Adam. She wanted to be equal to him. She didn't want to feel lower. Really? Yes. And that's why they rejected her. And after that, there is a whole story. We go more in depth in the webinar, but she feels insulted, ignored. It triggers the topic of revenge. And yeah, well, Lilith is considered to be the whore in the story. Yes.
But that's it's not a planet, Lilith. What was it? It's like the moon's epigeo or perigeo.
Yes. Where
the moon
like
is furthest?
Point. Yeah, it's a point. It's calculated by the position of the moon. Yeah. But the myth is very interesting. And I think that all of those topics can be activated for us. Like for women, if you have had feelings of being rejected, being unfairly treated because you are a woman, like topics like gender equality, how women are treated compared to men, like those things may come up on a collective level, but also on a personal level. Like, especially if someone has experienced in the past something like this. Like, for example, you were rejected for a job because you were a woman, or somebody expected you or treated you in a different way because you are a woman, or you were judged about anything related to your femininity. It could be your style, I don't know,
Why
your
do you
makeup.
dress like a whore?
Yeah, yes, especially Lilith in Leo. Those topics, again, they can be collectively very strong, but also for someone, if you know that that's also part of your story, this could be a time when, yes, it could be reactivated, because Venus can bring stuff from the past, especially emotional stuff or people or relationship or old partners. So be careful with your exes and all of that, because you can meet them, or of course sometimes it can be for the good, but it's possible that old wounds might be reopened, especially on those topics relevant to Lilith and the femininity, and how women express themselves, and the taboos and what's not accepted, or what's like it's not also so much about ethics, it's more like morality, or like some kind of fake perceptions. So this, from one side, again, you might re-experience it, but you can also heal this. And that's the whole point of the retrograde phases, that it's not that, we need to resuffer something, or, it's just meaningless. It can bring something from the past so you can deal with it in a new way, and potentially you can let it go. Obviously, it's not promised or guaranteed, because it would depend very much on what you would do in this place, but it's possible. So all kinds of, emotional healing, releasing, forgiveness, first for yourself, then for others, can be, it's a great time actually for practices, therapies, and all of that. So again, the main topics like fairness, justice, but especially when it comes to genders and equality and how we are treated, like those could be very important topics, next to the money stuff that we already discussed. One thing which I also think people should be mindful of, Venus represents our personal values. So how we see things, what we evaluate as right or wrong, or important or unimportant. And Venus in Leo can be too subjective, especially when it's retrograde. It's very much turned into the inner world. So just be mindful, just be aware that some of the things you might evaluate in a very, very subjective way. So from that point of view, it's not the best time to make important decisions related to personal stuff, relationships. It is not a good time for a marriage, for example, because again, the judgment is not so objective. And what's even more interesting is that Venus at the same time is ruling Jupiter, which is in Taurus, so under the rulership of Venus, but they will have a square. And we will discuss this in more details during the webinar, with all of the dates and, like the order of the aspects and what would be the meaning of all of that together. But just to give you an idea so that, people can be prepared, there could be some kind of mismatch or a conflict between our own values and the social values. So, and Jupiter's energy, it's not like Saturn, so it won't be like a tough pressure or you're put in the corner or something like that, but you may feel like some kind of mismatch or misalignment between what you want and what is kind of like socially expected. It could be from the family, from friends, from your social circle. You may realize, for example, that now you have different values. Now you want something which is more personal, more for you. Venus is in Leo, rather than, you know, traditional values. For Jupiter in Taurus, it's more like, you know, withholding the form, trying to keep things the way they are. It's an interesting combination because Uranus is also there. So Uranus will be pulling towards, you know, a change, a revolution.
Oh, I can see it playing out for some people, like, oh, society expect me to be faithful husband or wife in my family, but I want to have a lover on the side or something. Do something a bit crazy and that clashes. That can be, you know.
That won't be, too surprising because honestly, like this Venus-Uranus combination can be all about, you know, shocking behavior and connecting to some kind of inner impulses that we might have, you know, pushed or suppressed or neglected. So now that Venus is turning retrograde, you may face with those. It's like, you know, you can't run away from yourself so easily. It's like you face with your own desires and emotions. And because of the square with Uranus and because Venus is ruling Uranus, you may say, you know, what the hell? I'm more important and I want to do it. It's like an impulse for something new. But this may play out in also different shapes and forms. Like for someone, for example, this could be a new way of creative expression because Venus is also related to art, beauty, creativity. I would recommend, especially women, to be mindful with radical decisions in terms of their appearance, like beauty procedures, especially if they're more invasive. Plastical surgeries, not a good time, especially with this Uranus square that we will have. The result might be very surprising, shocking, unexpected. So even if you have a desire to do something drastic, cut your hair, make it whatever color, first give yourself a little time to think about it, then maybe wait until Venus turns direct, because you may see things in a different way, or you may even find a different way to express this energy, because we know that every planet can work on different levels. And to change your hair, to, I don't know, do something drastic with your body, it's just using the energy on a material level. Not that this is wrong, but it's not like the most beneficial. If we use it on an emotional level or on a mental, spiritual level, I think that we may gain some insights or something more valuable for ourselves. So, you know, instead of changing our hair and doing something drastic with the eyebrows, or I don't know, something about with your body, you may look deeper. Because if every time we want to change something with our body, it's just a reflection of something else that we are frustrated with. We know this cliche after women break up with someone and how often they want to change their hairstyle, their appearance.
No, it does help sometimes.
But it's not,
as long
yes,
as it's not something that it's irreversible, like going picking
yes,
up a body part or
yes,
God
yes,
forbid,
yes.
whatever.
But also it's always a reflection of a deeper need that we have. It's like, you know, we want to be like a new woman or to express ourselves in a new way. And if we are able to stay a little bit with this energy instead of like just let it out, I think that it may help us to change something more important. And then if you want to change your hair, by all means, change it. But it's possible that once you change the more important stuff, you won't need to do some drastic experiments with your body. You may still do them if you want, but I think it could be more beneficial to go a bit deeper on an emotional level, our feelings, and to try to make a change there, because it will affect everything else.
Yeah, it just shows how materialistic our culture is still, because someone doesn't feel a bit good and they immediately, oh, go and do surgery or whatever. Even doctors are pushing for this now, instead of actually trying to help the person mentally first to see what's within them. So sorry.
Absolutely, I agree. No, I totally agree that body shaming or some kind of impossible beauty standards, they are crushing so many women. And I think that especially with this combination, so Venus retro in Leo, but also Jupiter and Uranus under her rulership in Taurus, it could be about changing something in our own standards, in terms of, you know, how the body should look like, or our appearance, or it could even be related to weight or weight loss. And I think it would be a great time, especially if someone has been, and again, that would be more personal. It would depend, you know, like what is your story and, you know, your chart, of course. But especially for people who have been too influenced by social standards, the Jupiter, basically, standards.
Jupiter is the social, yeah.
Yes, social
What is
value.
socially acceptable,
Yes, what is
preferable.
prestigious, like what is nice, what people generally would admire. And because Jupiter is in Taurus, it has to do a lot with the body, with the shape, with weight, with the skin, with all of that. And now when Venus is retrograde in Leo and will square Jupiter, actually, we might get closer to something which is more unique and personal and true for us. Like that's the most important, like our own truth. And we may kind of like break those chains. So not follow so much, you know, the Instagram standards, or, you know, some kind of fakeness, or, you know, what other people are pushing, but instead like to see, okay, what is really important for you? What are your own values, your own uniqueness? So
Well, I've always seen retrograde planet as a alternative, giving you an opportunity to have an alternative view for a little bit, a different
exactly.
perspective. And Venus in particular is about your gender. So there can be a lot of topics about so-called gender dysphoria now. It might be in the news a lot during this Venus retrograde, because it's
I think
about
so.
who you are. Leo is who am I, and Uranus is about radical changes and asking such questions. I don't know which way it's gonna go, but
Yeah, it could be in the collective field as well. I think so. And also for some, or for many people, it could be on a personal level as well.
what about, I get this feeling, a lot of spending? Like this Venus square Jupiter in Taurus, Venus from Leo. I think people will be spending, but to entertain themselves, for holidays, for glamorous things. I don't know.
Yes, it could be. There might be some kind of overspending, but again, like the question is why? There is always a reason, because one of the mechanisms, by the way, this I'm observing more and more with the GSR work, because with GSR, we work with the energy field of the person. So that's everything that is in your subconscious mind that you are receiving from the family system, your resources, your problematic points, all of that. And the more I practice with people, the more I see how one of our main strategies subconsciously is to waste our own resources. It's just an illusion that we want more resource of any kind, money or personally or energy-wise or whatever, because to have more resource, it always means more responsibility. It means that you need to do something with this energy. The energy cannot stay within you without doing anything. And if we don't have a constructive way or direction to use the energy, we find a way to waste it. This wasting could be into finding problems. We are very good in this, to find problems so that, you know, we can put a lot of energy into it. So we exhaust ourselves. So, then we don't have so much resource, you know, that we need to find something to do with it. So wasting our resources, and money is also part of this. Yeah. Like if we feel like we have, and it's not, you don't really need to have lots of money to have this urge. Sometimes people may have different blockages subconsciously from, you know, for example, not allowing themselves to have an abundance because someone in the family system, or, you know, in their from their ancestors, let's say, has been robbed or hurt because they have had a lot of resource or money, and this is all being passed to us. So it's much more common than we can logically expect for people to waste their energy and resource into all kinds of meaningless stuff. Fights, arguments, wasting money, doing meaningless things, bad habits, like all of these toxic relationships, anything which is like, all of this is a way for us to waste our energy.
So where is that energy supposed to go instead? In something constructive, in career, in what? In creating something?
That's the big question. And for when we can't find this answer, we just need to get rid of this energy. But that's usually an indication that there is some kind of barrier. So you can't use your resource kind of like to guide you towards the future. So for example, you create something better for yourself, for the people you love, or for others. It's not an easy answer.
Almost like you are, sometimes a person might be afraid of success as well. What are they going to do with it? It's like they're not used to it. That's not their normal state.
Yes, it's very difficult for us to grow. It's very difficult. It's much more kind of common or safer for us to stay on the same level. So this is also a mechanism. If we feel like we are growing too fast or we have more than we can handle, we just find a way to waste it. For women, but well, I don't want to say like, maybe it's not just for women, but at least from my clients, I can see it a lot with women. Very often a way for them to waste their own energy is with bad relationships, toxic relationships. Or men who are whatever, not ready to commit or have another woman or something which makes the relationship unhealthy or you know, something that doesn't lead anywhere. But you know, you probably also have this experience, like sometimes we get attached to someone and we know it's not good for us, or we are unhappy, or you know, and we are still staying there or hoping for something to happen or something to change. For women, very often, this is an indication that they're wasting their own feminine energy. If you feel stuck, it could be either in an actual relationship or in the desire of having a relationship with someone who is not noticing you, or, you know, the impossible love. Married. Yes, or he's rejecting you, or one day he wants you, the next day he doesn't want you. Like, if this continues for a long time, it's an indication that you are wasting your own feminine energy.
Wow, there's a lot of women with a lot of extra energy there. That the problem is not knowing where to put it. This is fascinating. I what you're saying is so true, because there was a period a few years ago that I suddenly started expanding too fast. I was not used to that amount of money, success. I didn't feel comfortable. I stopped it. I cut the business. Like I just couldn't. It wasn't the time that I didn't have. It was too much energy. I don't know what to do, and I halved it. I was like, no, I'd rather make less money and do it's uncomfortable to grow fast. And I see with this Jupiter, Venus, and Uranus, there'll be a possibility for a fast breakthrough in some direction as well. That feels overwhelming. That is like, I can't. I'm trying to put the brakes down. That's why.
What I think is that for those who are ready to do the extra work, to handle the extra resource, this can be like a boosting energy. It won't be easy. It won't be like, because having a lot of energy, it's always, you know, it kind of like pushes you to do something with it. It's not in an aggressive way, but it's an energy that wants to be expressed. So if you want more resources in whatever way, you want more money, you want to create your business, you want to expand or to express yourself creatively, you need to be prepared to handle this energy and to do something with it. And for people who are ready, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be scared, or that, you know, if it doesn't happen in a very smooth way, then, oh, it will not work. No, it means that you should be ready to keep going. Yes, you may need to stop for a moment, or you may need to work on something, or Because here is another thing. When we are growing significantly, I mean, like growing to another level, not just horizontally, but, you know, vertically, if you really grow in whatever area, you never know what is there. It's like, no, from the lower position, you can't see clearly what's higher. So only when you get there, you will know what's waiting for you. And this is completely normal from one side. And it means that first you need to be able to handle the uncertainty. If you can't handle uncertainty, you can't grow significantly, or you will get there and you will drop down. So it's part of the process to not have all the answers or not have everything figured out. But if you are ready to, you know, face with this uncertainty, try something new and figure it out when you get there, and keep going. That's basically the way to do it. And I think that with this, again, this Jupiter, Venus thing, we can have those opportunities for breakthroughs also.
And not to feel so out of your depth, because Uranus allows you to kind of experiment. Okay, maybe I can, yeah, it's like even just thinking, moving from an old house to a bigger, nicer house, I felt like I don't deserve it. And the kids felt, Mommy, this house is too big. We want our old, nice, small house. It's very uncomfortable. To go to a better place, it is uncomfortable. And it's, but fortunately, once you stay a little bit longer at a good place, you get used to it, and then it feels uncomfortable going back. But adjusting to this higher level, it's not, it's actually a difficult process.
I understand this very well, because with GSR, the practice that I'm using as a specialist, I need to work with myself a lot. Like I'm doing sessions for myself daily, sometimes even 2-3 sessions. And with every session we do, our resourcefulness is increasing. So you need to learn, if you are doing this active work, of course, you know, like so intensely, you get more and more and more resource. And I'm noticing myself how there are times when I just need, you know, to do something just to release this energy. I mean that it takes practice and time, and it's like you drop a little bit, you fall, and with time you learn to stand up faster. And you know, if for example previously it has happened that, let's say that I'm in a difficult phase, let's say for a week, like something happens, it happens because I'm not handling the energy properly, so it happens. If previously, let's say it can take me 1 week, you know, to put myself together, now it's like I can fix it in a day or maximum 2, or, you know, it's like this is also a muscle. And you shouldn't be afraid of falling, or like, oh, something didn't work, oh, I wasted my energy, or oh, I, you know, didn't do what I was planning completely. You just need to keep doing it. And with time, you first of all learn to handle more resource, to be able to do something, and you learn to find ways to use this energy for yourself, for others, it doesn't matter, but for something constructive.
Yeah, a lot of people find it scary, because a lot of people, they're much more comfortable watching TV all day long, having 12 beers, wasting that time, or rather than, because otherwise that it feels like a lot of responsibility doing stuff all the time. It's like,
yes.
it definitely, once you start doing it, you're 10 times happier. But just the idea of it is scary to people. That's going very psychological, what we're discussing. I'm really enjoying this topic, by the way, but it's fascinating. But yes, that's definitely the other danger is over, because this energy will increase, like you said, and the possibility for the universe to push on the next level. Venus, Jupiter, the two benefics, you know, Uranus is telling you break to the next level. But if you're feeling uncomfortable because it's a square, there's a possibility for over drinking, bohemian stuff, partying, overspending, all those wasteful kind of things I'm talking about.
Yeah, or going back to the old cliches, like, you know what I have noticed also, like one of our subconscious strategies to stop ourselves from success is some form of criticism, like some kind of self-judgment, like, oh, I'm not good in this, or, oh, again, I didn't do this properly, or I didn't match this standard, you know, like Leo energy, but used in a negative way. So that could be one of the risks. Like, if we don't want to grow, we may want to go back to the old pattern of self-criticism, or thinking that, oh, this is not valuable, or it should have been in a different way. If someone wants, they can always find something that they will judge, that they will not like, that will not be okay. If you want problems, you will always find them. And this is also so typical for our psyche, to seek for the problems, because we are very used to focusing on them and solving them. And it's much easier to solve, or to try to solve your problems, rather than go towards the unknown, you know, to commit or to fulfill a goal that is about your growth, but it's also the unknown, it's expansion, more responsibility, and so on. So yeah, that's also something that we do. Self-criticism, or old kind of like limiting patterns. So I think that the summer will be quite interesting.
It's fascinating. I mean, there'll be a lot of excesses for people that are not self-aware, or even self-aware people. They might be like, screw it, I'm done growing. I just want to waste some energy. And there'll be some people that will be going on the next level of self-love, everything Venusian, self-love, wealth, self-appreciation, relationships, and so on. That would be fascinating. Is Venus doing aspects?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that on top of that, during the last, is it like 10 days? Yes, after the 23rd of August, Mercury will be retrograde as well. So the last 10 days might be even more complicated. So yeah, so the communication, relationships can work on a very different level and in a very different way. Yes, so the aspects, Venus will have a conjunction with Mercury, with Lilith. Like, for me, the conjunction with Lilith is the most remarkable one. Like, this combination will be like the most intense thing.
Like,
and also
inner whore out. I'm giving really bad advice, people. So don't listen to me.
Well, embrace it. If it's within you, why not? Like, every time that we cut parts, we can't cut them, actually. We can only try to cut them. It's always becoming worse. You can't do this. Like, you can never do this without consequences. It's like you are becoming incomplete. But actually, yeah, when I say this, I'm also thinking that Venus retrograde in Leo can help us, like, to bring the pieces together so that we can become more complete. It's like an internal journey of, you know, finding things that maybe we have rejected or pushed out or suppressed. Because Leo is the most, like, self-sufficient sign. It's the sun. It's like, it's whole. And while Venus is there, I think that we can kind of like search those pieces within us. And at the end, we can feel more complete.
I love this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Lilith is like our shadow sides, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow, the sun is the light side, this spirit, this perfection, this completeness. And we all know we're completed, perfect spirits, but our soul is broken into a million pieces. So it's like this interesting side where you're trying to retrieve pieces of your soul, of that, the Lilith energy of the dark shadow side. And the Leo side of it is, like you said, beautifully integrating it. Okay.
Yeah. And on top of that, there will be a new moon also in Leo, together with Venus retrograde and Lilith. So I think that this will make the energy explode even more. Uranus will be squaring the new moon. So that would be like another trigger, which can bring also so much energy for creative expression, for embracing this shadow part, or this shadow side of us, just giving it a place, and at the end feeling more complete.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
maybe you can tell us quickly the Venus, how it will affect
Yes.
different elements, for example.
Yes, yes, yes. So we will talk in more details during the webinar. We will go through the 12 signs, but very generally, for the 4 elements. So for the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Venus will be in one of your fire houses. So it is about your self-expression. It is about something related to individuality or your goals or your direction. Like those are the main areas that you need to focus on. For the water signs, for them, the earth houses will be affected. So you need to think of something more practical. It could be money, it could be work, it could be your responsibilities or obligations or the things that you are building up in the material world. So for the water signs, this should be like a more practical time or time to focus on more practical things. For the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, for you guys, the area of communication would be the most important. Friends, partners, communities, groups of people, how you connect to others, how you express your ideas. In those areas, you can be emotionally more triggered, but you can also reevaluate something or find your worth in those areas or see it in a different way, like what you're capable of doing there, what you can achieve. And finally, for the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, for you guys, Venus will be retrograde in one of the water houses, which means that it can be even more emotional or deeper or something hidden that you might reconnect to or feel, or it's not guaranteed that logically you need to or you will understand it, but it's not so important. Here, it's more important to allow yourself to feel it, to just, give it a place. So for you, the topics, again, could be deeper, about something hidden, about something could also might be related to the past. So that's very briefly to have an idea of what you can expect. And again, we will go deeper during the webinar.
Thank you so much, Marina. I always love your insights because you're not just an astrologer, you're a philosopher and you're a psychologist and you're a healer. And you combine all this knowledge and we get to very deep levels, let's say. So I'm looking forward to your webinar. Anyone who would also like, Marina is offering sessions with her, both using astrology and the healing modality of GSR. Was that correct?
Yes.
Or just the webinar, whatever. There'll be different ways. I'll put the link below towards Marina's profile and the offerings, the course that she's doing right now. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed this discussion. I'm actually now excited about this Venus retrograde.
Yes, you should
Like I saw it in the light you presented it. It's will be fascinating. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a memorable, expansive summer. Hopefully you get to the next level and feel comfortable there and stay.
Yes.
Bye-bye.